All right, I'm going to start this video off with a quote from Alfred Adler. He said, "The psychic life of man is determined by his goal. No human being can think, feel, will, dream without all these activities being determined, continued, modified, and directed toward an ever-present objective." Okay, so this is introducing us to the concept of motivation. Right? So what motivation is, what are some of the different theories behind it? What we're essentially trying to do is see what is the driving force behind behavior. As we look at the things that people do, the things that we do, we want to ask a question and just answer like, why? Why are we doing this? All right? What's the motivation? And so there are some number of different theories. One of these is what we call drive theories. All right? And this is trying to say that we have certain biological needs. They are not being met. Right? And so whatever the biological need is, we are motivated to address that particular need. Right? So we can imagine that our physical body at any given moment is trying to have a state of homeostasis, where everything is in perfect working order. So if something has happened to put it out of homeostasis, drive theories are going to say we're going to be motivated to get back to homeostasis. Right? So if you just have gone running or exercising in some kind of way, it would make sense that we're going to be motivated to sit and rest so our energy levels get back to where they were, to consume some type of liquid, to replenish the sweat and everything that we've lost, the hydration that we've lost, and then also maybe just to cool off, to get our body temperature back down to where it was before. Right? So we have unmet biological needs. Another kind of set of ideas is from like humanistic psychology. And if we take this idea of unmet biological needs, we can say we have unmet psychological needs. Right? So we're driven in life, we're motivated to things that will help us achieve a sense of satisfaction and achievement in life. Things that are going to give us a sense of fulfillment. Right? So main researcher here is Abraham Maslow. Right? So he came up with that hierarchy of needs. He said at the top we have self-actualization. This is us reaching our full potential. In order to do that, though, you have to take care of everything that comes below. Right? So at that bottom level, we have like physiological needs. Again, kind of matching up to drive theories. You have to meet those. So it's like you need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to drink water, things like that. Because to put it very bluntly, you cannot reach self-actualization. You cannot be the best person you can possibly be if you're dead. Right? So most basic fundamental motivation is just to keep yourself alive and keep yourself safe. Right? Once we kind of have established where we have a routine, safe place that we know we can live and be every night, we have the means to provide for ourselves, it opens up the opportunity to us to spend time working on bettering ourselves, right, and reaching that self-actualization. Maslow's often quoted as saying, "What man can be, he must be." Right? So once we see what our potential is, we're never going to be fully satisfied with our life until we reach and accomplish that potential. Right? So we have unmet biological needs explaining one thing. We have unmet psychological needs explaining a different theory. And then we have what's called the need to belong theory. And so here it's almost like unmet social needs. Right? We have a certain desire to have connections with other people, and that might drive our behavior. Now, with this is going to vary from person to person. Right? Some people are more introverted and they prefer that smaller social network. And so in order to meet this need, it might be very, very easy for them with just that one or two friends. Someone who's more extroverted, more outgoing, more social, they might need more social interactions, more acquaintances and friends in order to meet that need. Right? But this is the idea behind this one is that it's rooted in almost like evolution and purposes over time. So, if we look back to the hunter-gatherer societies, there were strengths in numbers, right? You had a greater opportunity to survive as you were with your group and if you stayed with your group. And so what we're saying is that part of that has continued on and is still with us. We have a need to kind of belong with other people. Now, of the different theories that are out there, one of the ones that is very prominent, that I think has a really good explanation as far as why we do things, it's extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. Right? So this is essentially asking ourselves, where's the source of the motivation coming from? Is it extrinsic and coming from without or outside of us? So are we doing something because it's what's expected of us? Are we doing something because there's something in it for us, right? We're going to have a reward if we do this thing, or are we doing it because we're going to face a consequence if we don't, right? So the source of the motivation is coming from outside of us, right? This compares to intrinsic motivation, where the motivation comes from within. We are doing this thing because we want to do it, right? So for whatever reason, we find it inherently satisfying and enjoyable, and we will engage in that behavior even if it's something that challenges us, even if it's something that's hard, even if it's something that requires significant effort and time. Doesn't matter. We enjoy doing it, so we will continue to focus and do that thing. Okay? Now, as we look at extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, we kind of want to ask ourselves, like, can you do both? Like, can both be true? Yeah, absolutely. Right? So if we look at why students attend class, right? Let's just use that as an example. Why students attend class. In my experience, it usually comes down to one of three things. One, they're there to learn the material they need to so they can pass the test, right? They just need to get the class done. It's part of one of their prerequisites, part of their degree program, whatever it is. They just need to pass the class. So they come to learn so they can pass the test. Another reason students may come to class is they don't want to have too many absences, right? Because once you have too many absences, you're going to be kicked out. So they're showing up just so they don't get kicked out of the class, okay? And then there's a third group. These students come to class because they truly enjoy learning about the material of whatever class they're in, okay? So let's look at that last group. They enjoy learning about the material, and that's why they show up. Well, I would put to you that at the end of the day, they still also come to class as well because they need to pass, and they don't want to get too many absences and withdraw. So they're intrinsically and extrinsically motivated at the same time, but that intrinsic motivation is stronger. That is the greater source of why they are doing it, right? And the same can also be true for the students. I'm just showing up so I can pass the class. Well, yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure there may be at least moments here and there where you enjoy the material that you're learning. Okay, so but basically, extrinsic, intrinsic motivation. Where's the source of the motivation coming from? Okay. Last kind of idea to share is there's something called expectancy times value theory. Right? Expectancy times value, and basically, our motivation to learn is influenced by how much we expect to succeed on a task times the value we place on being successful on that task. Right? So our motivation is basically how much we expect to be successful in something times how valuable is this thing to us. Right? So just a different kind of perspective on how we approach certain things. So is it something that's going to be enjoyable to us? Is it something that's going to have an importance or some kind of value to us? And then, like, what's it going to cost? Like, what are we giving up in order to do those things? Right? So these are some of the calculations we often do in order to determine if we're going to engage in a certain activity. And again, that can help us understand our overall behavior, our motivation behind it.